background. Just pushing in here. 3 separate vehicles, in fact, that is a lot of utility. Oh, James now getting focused down, a lot of utility being thrown out. It's going to be Semti that he's facing and staring down with.
And James now looking to make his way away. Eureka continues to get another kill on the other side of the map. So far, it's like HQ is in a little bit of danger. Player getting taken down. C9 Korea, on the other hand, having been finding themselves in an aggressive early game. Playing Zone 1, already seeing quite a bit of action.
I mean, you say that we have still, 61 members alive. Well, all that is going down.
Okay, so GDE have moved entirely away from military base. Instead, having pulled themselves away from that space.
They're looking to push in onto the central area, but this is an issue here because the FaZe boys are already in it. Sun Sisters now in a aggressive move, trying to push up.
Flash Wolves have a difficult time. They want to try and push in, but 17 in a position to hold out against them. TSM now holding over from the sniper's nest. Looking at this position as well. Flash Wolves making the rotation around. They could afford to go a little bit wider. They're going in for a very direct push in, but there isn't really that much need to make this kind of movement. It feels a little bit risky. If there were more teams in this position, Flash could see themselves getting caught out. I would prefer if they made a wider rotation up towards the northern side and really try and pincer their way in from there.
So this is an obvious but speedy move in. The trade-off is that they get spotted out, and I have to say, eventually it does get the job done, and Flash Wolves are going to be able to push in, like you mentioned. On the high ground here is Team 17 from China.
Yeah, 17 being the ones to find themselves a little bit later. Sun Sisters is moving towards that top side. James gets a knockdown onto LGD, so the standoff climbs himself.
It's going to be a kill as well from James, so he follows up with another bullet to the head to make sure that sticks. Meanwhile, LGD on the lower ground have to take cover behind inside that compound.
Liquid now looking to try and regroup together. A couple of shots coming in. LGD holding down onto this compound. Still looking to be in a pretty safe position. They don't need to move just yet. We saw Sun Sisters move up towards the northern side of that play zone, trying to find any team that collapses onto that space. They could get lucky and the play zone could drop on them. But otherwise, we're looking at Liquid facing a little bit of trouble against HK9, who has the shot onto them.
I need to point out that there was a bit of a team kill or team knockdown there from Team 17, hitting his teammate with the vehicle. So bit of an issue with the driving there, but eventually might just get the res up in time. The pace of the first game was similar to this, Grand, and I want to point out how there's very little action up to the point where we hit phase 3 when everyone started grouping up. But even then, it was pretty non-confrontational for the most part.
A lot of the team prefer the late game meta anyway, so it makes sense that they're not really going for such super hyper-aggressive early to mid-game phase fights. But the difference this time around is that play zone being so much in the body of water has reduced so much of the space, and right now you can see it's really around this tiny corner right now. This still has become more of a play zone that's something that we traditionally see as a second play zone.
Yeah.
We can already see that it's translated into a few of these teams having to deal with moving into this space. So everybody's trying to lock down a position where they can call their own. And it's going to be luck of the draw deciding who needs to move into what place.
Airwolf now in the vehicle might be looking to push forward onto Semti here. We've seen that a couple of times at first, rather at the start of the game as well. We saw C9 Korea just running straight at OMG when they were taking aggressive fire. That's it, just gonna get behind this rock, use the cover, and then push up. I'll point out the center of the safe zone is around the quarry, and that's a very difficult position to play around just because there are so many angles and different elevation heights to look out for. I'm not necessarily sure if teams are going to hold out as or rather use the quarry as the central fortification area.
I'm quite curious to see what they want to do as well. I think there's a couple of different spaces that might be a little bit better. We actually see a little bit of a trade between Airwolf as well as Liquid. Airwolf actually quite dominant in the Southeast Asian region. We see them perform very well in the qualifiers leading up to PGI the last time around.
Right.
But right now, they are pretty far away from this space, and Liquid want to try and move in. A couple of teams now hovering around the outside of the circumference, and we are really pocketing in on that bottom left-hand corner.
EB looking to back off here. He and James were tag teaming up, but with the weapons that he has, he's opting to go into the vehicle and back off into the next safe zone anyway. Oh, this is a decent amount of utility coming in. They got the painkillers. The 8x scope is what you really want, and the tier 3 as well is just the icing on the cake.
Where's the 15 times?
I'm not feeling that weapon all too much though. The Groza is not as tier 1 as I would think.
HQ coming with a couple shots onto HK9 as they move by. C9NA holding down his position quite well as well. So one of your top placing teams off the previous games. They are looking to play things pretty safe right now. C9 actually got a lot of kills the last game. They set themselves up for a pretty high score.
K-Mine Nerf as well as Moody and Stab holding up this compound, but they can't really push up because they see HK9 pushing away. Now TSM now across the ridge line, being fired upon by AHQ. 16, approaching 17 minutes in, and the areas are still more or less getting settled in.
Teams now starting to collapse in onto the space, and the play zone is shrinking ever so slightly.
Oh, that's OMG, they find a kill.
Nice kill by OMG. Refund getting set back even further behind. We talked about Refund earlier on. They were caught in a very awkward position with their teammates very far split. Now Pino, who was hovering by the beach in the past, is now pushing forward, trying to look for the safety here. It takes a little bit of damage, and might seem to getting taken down. Up on the top side, 17 trying to push in with Nemo, providing a little bit of fire, trying to prevent the team from moving in.
Yeah, Nemo here, Arrowwolf, tag a bit different, but nevertheless still playing like they own this place. They're getting a lot of shots down on the back. Super Nate running away, getting tagged up in the back of his head. But meanwhile, Sun Sisters will find a knockdown onto Smack. TSM now the focus for Sun Sisters. So 2 separate fights on 2 separate fronts on this map.
Multiple teams now looking for this final few moments to move in. A lot slower than before. Was 18 minutes in.
Oh,
you still have teams still standing with a pretty large number of their roster.
Second member of TSM getting knocked down there, and this might be a bad sign for the North American team. Only Rory and Solid FPS up to revive, but TSM with the utility will be able to get the res on her break here. The smoke giving them a brief moment of respite.
They should be able to find the res. They get the smoke off, build a wall of cover with that smoke, denying vision away from the opponents. Find the first res on the break. Smack looking to pick up as well. So TSM still have a pretty good chance of moving into this next phase of the game. We're approaching this mid to late game at this point.
Now looking at the positioning, Brandon, what do you think, or rather which team do you think has the best odds at this? Because C9NA is square in the center of it all, but the circumference is being held pretty well by other teams as well.
I think it really depends on when the next play zone lands, but you obviously have teams like GDU who are not in a good position. There's so many teams in front of them. No matter where the play zone is, eventually they're going to have to be forced out the position, and here we go. Play zone coming in, HQ9 in a nice position. They still have a lot of open space that they can work around. Very nice cover provided for them as well. Other teams like TSM, they have a little bit of cover over in this area, a nice little high ground advantage, but it's difficult for them. There's a lot of space that they have to be concerned about where the opponents could come in from. You can see Sun Sisters over on this side. TSM with their backs turned against Sun Sisters. Sun Sisters could continue in with that siege.
The problem is that the save zone might be closing in on them very soon, and they might have to opt into a push instead of holding down this defensive position. Now TSM already inside though, looking to make Sun Sisters' life a bit more difficult as the Japanese team push in. LGD now might be finding Arrowwolf here in this building. They see him looting up and they get the shot down, and LGD get the immediate knockdown, but the return is good from Arrowwolf, so that's 1-1 from the Chinese and Indonesians. The trade in, the grenade into the house, looking to finish him off. Device might fall here as the grenade pops. No, doesn't even connect at all.
TGW, the teammate that they managed to keep alive for the longest time in the last game, is now knocked down the outside. LGD, a team that we weren't expecting too much from, are going into on a pretty aggressive trade here.
Meanwhile, 3-man onto Flash Wolves and 17 as well. Arrowwolf here still taking the fight, and LG looking to push in across the map. Flash Wolves losing second member here. Might be a third and fourth, and LGD, or rather, excuse me, Flash Wolves get eliminated, the first team to drop in the second game.
OMG with a nice grenade, getting the secured kills onto members of Flash Wolves, coming in with those knockdowns as well. Nemo over on this side. Arrow will find a couple shots onto 17, draw the attention of multiple teams right now.
Yeah, this is what we expected at 20 minutes in. Multiple people getting knocked down, but the confirmation is what counts. They need to get the kills to secure their positional advantage in this game. Now, Lion KK falling. OMG, the next target, HK9 and GDE pairing up. It's gonna be a three-man party onto OMG. The Chinese team are falling like flies here, and TSM as well as Sun Sisters are gonna be losing members as well. We only got 50 members alive in this game, and Scoom now, the next to fall to Arrow Wolf.
Pushing forward, Sun Sisters looking, trying to make their way into this shack. Bringing Rory, trying to hold down the best that he can and find a res onto the first teammate.
Sun Sisters looking for the aggressive push out. TSM dropping the smoke, the utility to cover their retreat, but meanwhile, Semty is gonna die to the environmental damage. Sun Sisters still holding the low ground and taking the fight to TSM, but TSM will get knocked down. The second one will get the return kill over, and the grenade in does not do anything to break. Crazy Sam now has to do his best. He gets the execution onto one, looking for the second. Is he going to go for the revive, or is he going to go for the fight is the question here. Break opting to crawl away, trying to get to solid FPS to get the res.
Sun Sisters finding time to rest the rest of his team. The grenade coming in, almost takes down Sebright. He has to look for the res right now, but he doesn't have the cover to do it.
This is fine though, because Sun Sisters, hold on, what's going on here? Doesn't even get the res, so eventually they're gonna lose another member, and at the end of the day, it's a 2 for 2. Sun Sisters, 2 members alive, and TSM still, but Break still on the offensive. Throws the grenade out, looking to push up through the flank, takes the cover behind the brush.
Solid FPS finds some time to heal as well. A little bit over on the side. They could end up spotting out this action, trying to move in for themselves.
I don't think they should commit to this fight, Brandon, because while all this is going down, everyone else is getting the position inside the safe zone.
Shempty moves right by. They're not looking to try and find a fight here. But I mean, you say that, but SST and TSM are already in the play zone right now. At this point, it isn't too much on them to try and find too much of a better space. SST now looking to try and push forward though. Aggressive
push up. They use the cover of the house magnificently, but the cover from the smoke is good on TSM. But the shot in on the side of HQ, looking to play Kingmaker as they destroy SST. The grenade in, not connecting onto anyone from Sun Sisters, but Crazy Sam eventually is gonna fall to HQ. The res coming in.
Difficult position, getting caught out from the back. Now they have to deal with this coming in. Playing zone closes in even more, and now it's down to the rest of the team to try and push forward. Look at James, he's gonna get taken down, jumps forward, dodges out the shots, gets behind cover.
Only a sliver of health left, and James somehow clutching it out. Using the heal now, the first aid kit, trying to top himself up. Sinvei doing the best he can to keep the hopes of his team alive. Meanwhile, Break is still holding behind this brush. He's not too afraid, considering that he knows AHQ did help them out in damaging Sun Sisters.
Man, Airwolf, 17, and LGD are still holding the same position we saw in them last time. All these teams are held in a standoff right now, looking for an opportunity to try and push forward. A couple shots from Cindy looking to take down TSM. Solid FPS stays alive.
Trying to make something connect, but finding no joy whatsoever. That only reviews his position a bit more as Maxi goes down across the map to Team 17. The Chinese group here finding a kill onto FaZe Clan.
I mean, this is kind of expected from TSM. They are holding a position down where Sinvi cannot move forward. He has to try and get into the play zone. So the only way he can go about this is try and make a wide rotation over. But then TSM can just come in with the catch onto the opponents at this point. And you have this big collapse. LGD, Aerowolf, and 17 continue to try and push in. But they're all watching one another. Sun Sisters actually get eliminated as Break pushes forward.
Yeah, he's going to see this because third person he can see over the ridge line. So he's going to take pot shots at RDK and eventually knock him down. The support from his team might be coming in. Throws the grenade out to disengage. Second one to follow up. Meanwhile, Rocket Armor losing MNN Yong. C9NA doing some work here. Kills left, right, and center all across the map, Brandon. So the game is speeding up and heating up as well.
Everwolf almost taken down, looks like. Might be down to the last player on this side. It's a difficult position. GDE now trying to push forward. C9KR have a good vision.
17 having a much better performance this time, taking out Aerowolf very quickly. It's the Indonesian team removed, only 13 teams left. Popping the grenade in, but not connecting into the house is a big issue for them. It will be blocked away, and C9 Korea now with the upper ground, looking to take this fight. The flank might be coming in though from GDE.
More information for C9 Korea as they use a third-person perspective to the advantage. GDE now looking to try and back off and rotate a little bit. Flashbang coming in.
Looking to stun the opponents up a bit. We'll turn the corner and see the hit of GDE. He's going to get the shots onto JY. Will knock him down. But meanwhile, JY will find the interception. So it's a 1-for-1. Make that a 2-for-1 in favor of GDE. No, a 2-for-2. Punch for punch across. But eventually, it's going to be GDE that gets it. K now looking to finish off C9 Korea. One more in the house, venturing in, shots to the head will finish him off.
The man advantage coming in from GDE. They managed to stand strong despite the flank coming in from C9 Korea. Now C9 Korea are in a desperate position. HK9 over on the side as well. They have pressure coming in.
Slightly after C9 Korea goes down, LGD falls as well to Aerowolves. And meanwhile, HK9 finding the fight onto GDE. They pick up the remnants, the vultures here at Prey, looking to pick up Kane and get the execution on GDE.
C9NA now looking to be in a fantastic position to win this game. They are in a great spot in the middle of the play zone. Even as it closes now, in the side of the play zone with good terrain and good cover coming in for them. Phase over from the side as well. HQ now moving in Liquid, chasing soon after.
James and Ibiza looking to push in from the northern vector, but they will get spotted out by HQ if they're not careful. Being very careful creeping in, so at least that's good for now. But HQ turning the corner, they're gonna see them and they pop the shots onto James, but when will they see EB behind? James gets eliminated. EB still alive for now.
Difficult game for Liquid. Ibiza now trying to push away, making a wider rotation, looking to find a different space where he can push in where the enemy are not waiting for him.
That's right, HQ on the high ground, putting the fear of God into EB, and he has to back off now. TSM, 2 members left, Brick and Solid FPS, clutching this one out, keeping their chest to the ground and not wanting to be spotted out. HK9 opposite across the ridgeline doing the same as well. Now 17 falling to Airwolves and C9 North America as well. FaZe getting the execution, so everyone just piling onto 17. They're gonna get gangbanged here. Meanwhile, C9 securing a lot for themselves and HK9 as well. We're down to 10 teams and this is 27 minutes in with 25, so a lot of teams still having 1 or 2 members still in the game.
A little bit left for them to work on. They just have to try and find his final push in position. TSM in a difficult spot, down to only 1 member, it looks like. Don't have much space they can work around.
You can see all the teams that have 1 or 2 members are just playing very carefully, sitting on the outside of the safe zone, not wanting to push in. First phase is going to get knocked down by the grenade from Nerf. Now the push in on the back from Airwolf might just find Hexetti. The flank might be coming in onto the last member of FaZe Clan.
Very nice push incoming from Biza, being able to find a different opportunity to get in, but Rocket over on the side. They push in a little bit deeper, but end up getting caught out by C9NA, who are in a massively powerful position here. FaZe over from the side as well.
C9NA finishing 2 teams by themselves. They're on the hunt now. Nerf getting the kill credit from Airwolf.
The team that didn't manage to place first, they still managed to get an incredible number of points off the kills that they received. And this second game looks like they're going to continue on with that trend.
Now looking at the compound that they're held up in, this is a great position for C9NA. They send 2 out to scout and hunt, the other 2 holding back and playing defensive to provide cover fire. GDE now pushing in, getting a shot into him. It's not going to help him all too much. Eventually will get knocked down by Rocket Armor. Hexa getting the kill credit on this. I say that, but the turnaround coming in and he finishes off GY as well as now. That's 2 members of GDE falling, and 9th place will be the finishing position for GDE here.
GDE actually made a very major adaptation. I was talking about how it's a much more difficult place for them to be all the way at the bottom side of the map there. No team really capitalized off of that information, so they didn't really get punished for that very heavily, but instead we see Rocket Armor, a team who we were a little bit hesitant to call out for. Suddenly shot pretty well. FaZe getting eliminated in 8th.
There's too much pressure on him, but HQ meanwhile getting turned around because they heard the shots, and it's going to be Rocket Armor that throw the bullets in, lining up the fire. Meanwhile, HK9 and C9 Korea duking it out, the car into the building, jumping across the wall. It could be Mixlaw coming up huge for them. Mixlaw finds 2. Solomon will get 1 in fact, so that's a mistake because Mixlaw only gets 1. Now they turn this around. Getting into the vehicles, looking to find another fight across from the safe zone. You see Brick somehow clutching it out, still inside the circumference of the safe zone, just staying barely alive.
He's looking for safety here. It's a difficult position for him to work around, but he wants to just be able to survive for as long as possible. If he wins this is the Reddit tread. Crawl to victory.
Mixlaw trying his best to crawl around, but EB will find him. Eventually jumping around the corner, but here comes Floyd Q for the backup. EB can't really get the kill onto him, turning instead onto the members of HK9. Can EB clutch this one out? It's 1v3. I don't think he has the firepower to do so. A grenade will take up his own teammate Floyd there with a big display. EB doesn't even have to check behind the wall now. Instead, just hiding behind the cover of this car.
Poor decision making coming in with the grenade, trying to take down Ibiza.
Molly on the back, forcing ED away.
They had a position they could potentially try and use to try and save the teammate, but
the center of it all, they still have 4 members, so they can spread out and play a defensive flank. Otherwise, they can just look to push down as a unit. But the safe play will be 2 fire teams covering different angles. They have the high ground. Meanwhile, Rocket was 2 members strong still, looking to push up this hill. Rocket is going to find HK9, Floyd Q getting knocked down, and execution there. Salmong and Floyd Q gonna die to Rocket.
yeah, Rocket Armor coming in second here. Oh, I say second. I'm already calling it.
It's not over yet.
I'm already calling it.
It's not over yet. C9 looking to push onto Rocket Armor. Rocket Armor getting a couple of good shots, getting the damage down to Nerf. Now they're turning the corner across the ridgeline, taking the cover here, forcing C9 to play into them. But the flank is being set up. Hexa on the back. He could be the disruptor that they need.
Not able to do so. Nerf ends up getting the knockdown here. 9 kills onto Rocket Armor, but there we go. The kill coming in. C9NA coming first.
Hexa got spotted out towards the end, and there's no upset coming through from Rocket Armor. The Koreans doing their darndest to finish first, but eventually will get placed in second against C9 North America, and a great showing here from this revamped roster of North America.
It's a difficult position for them to work around. They try and push in, but they're already on a numbers disadvantage. They've been going into continuous engages throughout the past couple of minutes, so they find the equipment already seeing some degradation, deterioration, and they have to try and make this position to move in. C9 coming in first place off a over 500 point game the last time around, off round 1. Coming in with round 2 with this win and a bunch of kills, they're going to set themselves in a very strong lead.
We were asking, how are they going to overcome the deficit between them and Team Liquid, who's in first? Now that they get this first place finish in game 2, that catapults them so far ahead now in standings that I think Team Liquid are going to have to do some soul searching and figure out what the solution is as they approach to the game 3 now.
Team Liquid found themselves in a very different position this time around. It was a little bit difficult to try and keep track of where they were moving. It felt like they were losing members one at a time. Every time they tried to probe into a position to get into the play zone, they had a single player drop, and then they had to try and follow up after that. So we saw in the case with Ibiza, I believe one of the teammates pushed in first. He gets caught, and Ibiza has to try and move around the outside, finds a different position to move in the play zone. A little bit unlucky in that sense as well. They didn't get the play zone advantage, but overall it was difficult for them because they had this like a lizard tail kind of strategy, constantly having to drop a limb off just to try and be able to get into the next play zone.
Yeah, but HK9 as well, this game doing much better than we expected. A lot of the Asian teams are actually stepping up huge in this second game. Some to mention would be Aerowolf, who actually finished pretty high in the previous game as well.
So we're looking to see how these teams move into round number 3. We'll be checking the scores, we're calculating them, have that by the next game, but very exciting game 2 coming in. Team Liquid not performing as well as we had expected.
Yeah.
Circumstances changing out, the play zone not really placing around nearby them.
Finishing 4th or 5th in that game, dying to HQ at the end. And it was quite close,
Yeah.
Ibiza really tried to clutch it out for his team, but when you get pincered from both sides in a very precarious spot, it hurts to even try. So at that point, you just kind of have to say, this is the furthest I can go, and you call it and start thinking about the next game.
Yeah, it's difficult because they drop Yasnaya and then the play zone is on the exact opposite corner of the map, so they have to move a lot and then try and find a different position. Then you have some other teams who have got incredible holddowns and then just been finding themselves very lucky with the play zones. So just off virtue of that, it makes it very difficult for teams like Liquid to come in and try and take that position away. But we also saw a very interesting strategy coming in from HK9 and Rocket Armor into the second game.
Yeah, first time the Koreans have placed so high in this tournament thus far, so I'm looking to expect more from them. The Korean FPS team, Rocket Armor, definitely looking to finish at least top 5, I think. That would be a good spot for them to make a statement about themselves.
So that being said, guys, I think we're heading into a little break before game number 3, so stick around, we'll be right back.
我超級管家一番努力，各路英雄終於由一味嘥電變到識得慳電。咁就輪到我叉電啦。
管家，屋企有冇慳多咗電？
有冇自潮嘅慳電產品推介啫？
好 easy 啫，有中電咁多元化嘅服務 ，check 住屋企用電，揀節能電器，無論想點喺邊度都搞掂。中電智慧你，綠色生活更便利。
手機咁快冇電嘅？
搞啱個 mon 啊，慳到電咯。喂，醫生。
穿越摩天大廈，探索與別不同嘅香港。喺呢度，創意無處不在。無論係街頭藝術、家居設計，定係多元嘅創意；無論係時裝設計、動漫製作，又或者各式各樣嘅藝術，都展現無盡創意，成就一個多姿多彩嘅創意樞紐。呢度就係你我嘅香港。
Sport and Music Festival is the first ever event that Hong Kong Tourism Board organized. The purpose for organizing the event is to further promote Hong Kong as a destination for the younger generation.
好高興我哋 PCCW Global 成為大會指定嘅國際網絡供應商。PCCW Global is committed to delivering the best network solutions so gamers can always perform at their best.
咁今次 PCCW Global 提供俾我哋嘅服務就係一個國際光纖網絡服務啦。咁就係將我哋會場連接到去比賽 server 同埋全球嘅直播網絡，咁可以俾到我哋喺一個好穩定嘅情況底下直播賽事去全世界。
PCCW Global provide the esports industry with outstanding IT infrastructure and technical support, letting
Hey guys, and welcome back to the round number 3 of the Hong Kong PUBG Invitational. I'm Gymnasium, and with me is Hungry, and we will bring you guys the action. And we just saw Cloud9 take away an incredible game number 2, and we're talking about the NA team this time around.
I mean, there are 2 Cloud9 squads here. There's Cloud9 NA and there's Cloud9 KR. So the Korean team not doing too well.
Yeah, unfortunately falling flat a little bit. We're looking forward to see how they could try and turn things around a little bit. But overall, Cloud9 NA had A, great positioning, B, a decent amount of luck, and C, just incredible firepower coming in.
A consistent form from the North American team as well. In Game 1, they finished second, and now finishing first will catapult them to first place with a good amount of space as well to shake Liquid off of the tracks.
That's true. With 500 points off the second game, they collected a bunch of kills.
Oh yeah.
I want to mention as well our second and third place contenders, Rocket Armor coming in. They drew a bunch of kills, and surprisingly, being able to get that many was a little bit of an upset for us because we talked a little bit about Rocket Armor in the pre-game before coming in, and it was a little bit of a difficult call for us because they didn't perform very well in their own local league.
Right, their domestic league. Right?
Exactly.
What was it called again? Could you run through this with our viewers once more to sort of refresh their memory, give some context as to what Rocket is as an organization? Rocket Armor, I mean.
Yeah, Rocket Armor play in the OGN league. So playing in that league, you have the likes of like Genji coming in, right? So very strong international teams as well. So obviously it shows in a competition that it's very difficult for them to match up to. So with that being said, it's difficult for them to shine in their own local regions, but it isn't really much of an excuse considering they were placing very far middle of the pack, in fact slightly below middle of the pack in their regular leagues. So coming into competition now, the fact that they come in second with so many kills begs the question, is it a fluke or is this a sign of a recovery for this Korean team?
Yeah, normally in these sort of situations when you're looking at PUBG, you normally play like, 8 games, 16 games to get some sort of average performance. Having one good game doesn't mean you're the best team at the tournament. Having 6 good games means you're the best team at the tournament. So it'll be up to them to show their stuff, whether they can keep up this streak of performance or whether they're going to fall to their North American and European counterparts because FaZe is on the hunt. You could see they are looking like they are out for blood this game.
We also saw HK9, the third place team off that second game, perform very well, get a bunch of kills for himself. Sunstitch was one of the teams who were bottom of the ladder after that first game.
Yeah, they were last place in fact.
Yeah, last place after the first game, coming in a little bit better this time around. But overall still not that much better, so hopefully we see something good coming in from them. TSM, FaZe, and Liquid drop shot a little bit in this second round, hoping to climb back up again afterwards, but I think TSM actually still had a pretty decent showing.
Okay, in the highlight reel now, this was the play that C9 Korea tried to make instead of getting cut off by GDE eventually, so towards the end, because of these passive early games, the non-confrontational nature of it results in 23-minute, 25-minute small circles where everyone just kind of crash into each other and take these messy fights. You might think you have the drop on someone, but then another team swoops in, gets the kill, and then makes it a terrible, terrible fight for both of you.
So in the second game, the way we saw the play zone work out, and a big reason why I think Liquid fell short in that game, was we saw the play zone drop very far away from Yasnaya. When we see it go towards Yasnaya, we can see Liquid have an incredible position and they hold it down incredibly well. It falling so far away, almost at the exact opposite corner of the map, and the first play zone being so much in the water, really was a big detriment to teams like Liquid, who were all the way in that space. Flash Priest as well, another team that moved all the way to the top right-hand corner for a little while before having to move in late, saw themselves have a difficult re-entry point. Otherwise, some teams that I want to bring in as well, we saw Refund actually perform a very strange strategy where they split into 4 different individual members and they are so far apart from one another. We see teams collapsing in between them, acting as a form of barrier, preventing them from being able to regroup and then being caught off one by one in that position.
I have to ask you the question though, because you introduced this idea of safe zone being away from your Yasnaya where Team Liquid likes to play around. Is that a skill thing or a luck thing now? Do you think you can play around that, or is it just, if it's in our area, we win. If not, we lose?
I absolutely think that there is a lot of skill that can move into trying to capture a space that's far away from you anyway. I definitely think that this play zone was a little bit detrimental to their cause, and the way that the play style came in from a few of these teams, we saw teams hold out in the circumference of the play zone for quite a while longer than what we would generally expect to see. And we could also see teams that were holding out for a very long time, teams like LGD and Aerowolf, I believe, and then LGD, Airwolf, and 17 held in that top right-hand side of the play zone for such a long period of time. That's something that you generally don't want to do. It just wastes a lot of time for all sides, and they just spend a lot of their resources holding that position down.
Worst case scenario is you're holding the circumference, you think you have a good delayed entry in, and then someone comes in and tries to tag team you, right? And then you end up in this bad fight on the circumference of the circle. People know you're outside, they don't care, but you guys are going to end up killing each other, even not getting a good position in if you win. That's like a lose-lose situation, right?
Yeah, exactly, which is why we didn't see them perform all that well in those phases of the game, especially since the play zone also dropped away from them. Right. We see that it could potentially work out, the fight between TSM and Sun Sisters, but even then, it was a very fiery victory. You win overall, but you lose so many of your members, you lose so much of equipment, and by the time you have to start dealing with some of the other players in the game, you are severely underpowered. So there's a lot of questions that are left to be answered for some of these teams. We are watching out for a few of them. So far, we have seen Airwolf, LGD, and 17 as teams who are willing to push themselves into that standoff. They don't exactly look to try and develop space for themselves. Instead, they want to be in a close quarter situation where they wait for the opponents to move and then they get the catch.
You're definitely looking for those close-range fights, skirmishing it out. The macro late game execution might be a bit tricky here, but coming in. Eyes on Cloud9. Can they keep their first place position is the question. I would like to think that this new roster has proven themselves pretty worthy of praise, because coming in prior to this, the past 3 months, we look at the progression of what C9 have accomplished, right, the past couple of months, even in the NA qualifier. So hold on here, you can see Moody is the king of the previous round. 7 kills. The average kills don't really matter, but 7 kills is pretty sick. That contributes.
So that means the first game got 0, right?
Yes, you're right. But that does mean that's 105 points for Cloud9. That's a lot of points.
So we're looking to see how that stacks up for the rest of Cloud9. We didn't exactly get to see how many kills they had overall. So that should be a lot of points. And I wouldn't be surprised if they definitely break the 1,000 point mark, right. But the question is how much more do they get from there?
Back to my point about Cloud9, the prior roster, not having a good performance. We take a look at their overall accomplishments. Trying to qualify for PGI in the NA qualifiers, finishing 10th place. That is a bad showing from the old roster, but coming in now with the adjusted one, you know, acquiring Roomstab, K-Mine, as well as Moody, K-Mine, and Nerf, it's really helped them out a lot.
Of course, now we watch out for some of these teams who were a little bit under the radar for us before, LGD and GDE. So GDE in the previous game came in with a very interesting strategy. They were in the bottom side of the map. I had called them out for the position that they were in as difficult to move in from because multiple teams were in their way, so they could be the target of focus. Right. But they played out a very patient strategy, moving in from a wide angle, being able to circumvent having to enter a confrontation.
And GDE's sort of drop spot strategy almost rivals that of Team Liquid. We were talking about how Team Liquid likes to play in a certain spot on the map. Well, GDE has shown past 2 games they will play military base and then get all the resources there, round it up, and then try to push in from either the left flank or the right flank into the safe zone.
Yeah, having a military base is a big bonus for them. We saw how some of the other teams who were dropped by the beach houses nearby, but more in the target of focus for other teams who are in that mainland space. So those teams end up getting caught instead. And hello.
I'm sorry, stream. This is unfortunate.
Quality entertainment.
Yeah. Unfortunate cut there. That being said, you know, back to your idea of military base. GDE playing around that area is actually pretty smart in terms of strategy, because not only is it high loot density, you get access to a lot of vehicles as well as the boats when it comes to reshaping your re-entry point. And look at the scoreboard right now. It's going to be C9 in first place with 1,100 points. You're right, Grandin. They broke the 1,000 point mark in game 2. Team Liquid slightly behind. I say slightly, it's about 300 points.
Yeah.
Trailing behind, and at the bottom tier of it, it's going to be Flash Wolves falling all the way down to 16th. Sun Sister and Refund Gaming finding themselves a small jump in position.
Being able to move up a little bit, Flash Wolves had a pretty unlucky game number 2. They moved to the top right-hand corner of the map, tried to move in late, and we can see how this also translates to the similar position that Liquid was in. Liquid was a lot more decisive in their push into the next set of play zones which gave them a little bit more space and a little better of a placing. However, Flash Wolves had a much more delayed strategy. They waited out all the way until the play zone was closing, and we saw that sometimes one player would end up actually getting clipped by the play zone.
Is that a good idea though? Because waiting all the way to the end, we've discussed the merits of it. Yes, you know where everyone is, but at the same time, the gatekeepers are there around the circumference of the play zone. They can shoot at you if you walk in.
Here's the thing as well. You don't know where everybody is. We know everybody is because
okay,
we get a
enough,
spectator camera.
But
for them, what they end up having to do is they now have to deal with players who are in spaces where they can only guess where they are.
Right.
So as they try and move in, every other team is already in position. So unless you have a very smart plan about the strategy that you want to employ moving into the play zone, for Flash Wolves, it was a little bit too direct. They move in straight past the opponents, get clipped by a couple of the enemy teams, and that ends up chipping them away constantly as team after team after team spots them out.
Considering that we've seen in the past 2 games, the play zones have been centered along the coastline for quite a bit in the opening stages, how do you think the viability of entering by blue, right? So going by the sea and cutting back in is for the teams coming in here?
Again, I just don't think that working with that ocean terrain just works very well for any team. You are in such a vulnerable position when you move in by boat, unless it's a very, very specific strategy and you have a lot of additional meds that you can afford to expand as you try and move into a very deserted territory. Overall, I wouldn't say it has good value trying to move in by boat. Instead, I just say that it's probably safer you just walk in and just crawl into the face of the opponents.
Okay, so a conditional strategy that not always works.
Yes.
Would be how you describe it.
It's like hot dropping, right? Hot dropping could potentially work. It could mean that you wipe out a Liquid or a Cloud9 or a Rocket.
Right.
But then at what cost, right? There's no guarantee that you'll succeed. The odds of success are also quite low. So at that point, it really becomes a question: is it worth it to go at this strategy? And I would argue that there really isn't. So going into this game, I don't want to see anybody trying to employ that. GDE tried to make that move before. I think it would have been more beneficial if they just walked into the enemy and just straight up firefight, like just had a firefight with them at the house.
Right. Okay. So that would be, I guess, the go-to now if you're playing along the coastline. Maybe try and creep in through the beach and go along the ridgeline, as opposed to taking a boat and declaring to everyone, you know, I'm driving in, just take shots at me, and there's gonna be adaptations there being made. Little bird in my ear tells me we're gonna have a small delay, I think, as we go into game.
Hopefully things get resolved very quickly. Once again, 64 players, that's difficult to deal with. A lot of things that you have to worry about. But with that being said, 64 players, there's a lot of minds going into this game. You can see how a lot of these players have the support staff with them, working with them in between every game and just planning out the strategy.
Yeah.
We can see teams like OMG, I think in a recent-ish article or interview with them, they actually mentioned that they felt like they had incredible support structure, and that gives them a lot of strength moving into these games.
Goes back to the early idea of this organizational structure that you have in established esports brands, right? TSM, C9, these are teams that have been around for so long since the dawn of like competitive League of Legends and esports in general, right?
Yeah.
So even in Korea as well, so having the infrastructure, having people in place to know how to play the game and teach that and create strategies and execute it, or teach you how to execute it, means so much to teams here.
So having these very well-established brands, we're looking forward to seeing how they continue to maintain their lead. C9NA, so far, doing the brand proud.
1.1k, boy.
1.1k, developing a strong lead after just a second game as we wait to move in the third one, and we should be going very soon.
Hello, it's back again on us.
Back to us. Before we go into game.
Getting trolled.
So here we are. Did I just hear game? I think I just heard game.
Yeah, the screen behind me says that we are into game. So alright, there you go. That was a 5-second troll, Brandon.
Yeah, just put it back on us for a little bit.
Or we're all looking at the screen and just like not focusing on the camera. Holy moly, a northern to southern cut here across the map. I kind of like this coming in because this forces teams to split east and west instead of now north and south, and it makes the map more open in terms of planning and executing your route.
I love the space coming in for Team Liquid. They should find Yasnaya for themselves. The question now coming, if there any team that's looking to hot drop against them, as I mentioned, I don't think it's a good strategy. I don't think that there's much point in doing that. But they could be desperate
against the hot drop strategy, and not necessarily the best way to play it out as you described it, but nevertheless a way to still cheese out a win, if you put it that way.
Now looking at a very Eastern-centric play zone. A few of these teams have adapted a little bit based off that flight path, so Rocket Armor now moving on to military base alongside GDE. So your second place finishes off that second game. Now moving over to the military base, looking a little bit too far to go to the previous spot, all the way on the left-hand side of the map.
Hopefully we can get a overview of the drops from everyone. Right now it's just a aerial scout. HQ now splitting up to loot up 4 different. Oh my goodness, that circle granite, that is impossible to play around. I mean, it's square on an HQ as well as Sun Sisters, but most of the Western teams are outside of this.
A little bit of fire coming in already as TSM get a couple shots onto C9QR, and you can see a heavy focus around the center space. Rozok, Skull, and Pochinki gonna have a couple of teams nearby. C9NA actually moving to South Georgia Pole. They could be looking to move into the space a little bit later, and we've seen how that has affected teams like Flash, who's moving a little bit late, or teams like Liquid, who have to try and move into a space very far away from where they end up dropping. So now looking to see how they plan to adapt around this. Rocket Armor making a move over to Novo. Should be able to find themselves a little bit more loot over in that space, and since it's closer to the plane zone as well, we actually could see them get used to the boat. So talking about the boat, I was critical about it, using it as a means to traverse past the initial, rather the later stages of the game. The initial phase of the game, you can use it to drop by multiple powers. It's very unlikely that you get punished right pre-7 minutes.
The assumption is that there's no one there to really punish you, and even if there is, you don't take a lot of damage because the items aren't there yet.
So everybody's farming at that time. It's very difficult for them to actually go jump on you. So they could be looking to go to Novo, then pick up a boat, and then drive over to multiple powers and hold that position down. But so far, looks like that isn't going to be the case just yet. We're now just watching a very slow spread coming in from these teams. As we watch Refund move up to Severny, and we've seen Refund do this before. Refund, the Vietnamese team, they've gone about the strategy where they have 4 players move up to Severny first, and then they send one by one into a different space. They split up, and then they try and find a regroup, but oftentimes we've seen them getting intercepted by other teams. So it's a very strong reliance on the concept that your individual players can outfight and outfirepower enemy teams. And it's difficult for Refund to do against some of the strongest players that we have in PUBG right now.
You're also hedging your bets on that there won't be multiple teams cutting you off and just picking you up as you move in individually. So there is some sort of a gambling element to that.
Very much so. As we now see FaZe moving over into the space. C9KR, the Inception, already has a hold down onto this house and finding a little bit of time to loot for himself.
He's geared up already. If he sees Hexeti, they might just go for this fight.
But still a little bit underlooted for himself. I'm not sure whether he spotted him out. Probably could have heard the vehicle moving in. But apart from that, information still a little bit lacking. C9KR having a very spread out motion right now. Should be looking to regroup up by Ruins if possible.
FaZe has played on the western side of the map for 3 rounds now. Is this something you think that they're super comfortable with, or it's just an adaptation that they like in this tournament? Because in GLL as well as PGI, they didn't really have some sort of default drop, you know.
I definitely feel like them moving over to this space, especially since FaZe in the previous competition they went to focus a lot more around Milta Powers. The fact that they've gone towards this western side of the map now is an interesting adaptation. I think they might have figured out something here off watching the previous couple of games, and they said, okay, possibly, so since we have such aggressive teams and a lot of teams that we haven't really played against, we could try and change up our strategy. We could have a much more wider spread. In case anything happens, we can drop a player, and then we can regroup with the remaining players and then push in from there.
Seems to be the case here as teams are starting to feel the heat a little. Refund already pushing in early through the northwestern vector of this. They might run into Liquid, who is still holding up at their usual spot. No difference there. Shots coming down. It's going to be 17 that is pulling the trigger onto Airwolf here, trying to make something work, but is only going to connect with nothing.
That sounds like a It sounds like a terrible social media campaign, like slogan, connect with nothing.
You'd be surprised, man. Everyone's going for that cut yourself from social media thing now.
Fair enough. So we're looking to see what they want to do. Supply crate nearby. So far, haven't been seeing as much focus around the supply crates. We've seen a couple of teams come in very lucky.
Yeah.
With picking them up without any kind of real contest, but for the most part, we've even seen teams who have used it as full bait or not even going for it because they're afraid of losing cover.
I need to point your attention towards Refund Gaming because they're making an extremely aggressive push all the way into the center between 3 teams. They have flash wolves above them and Liquid below them now. 2 separate squads focusing them down, and the shots will be coming in. This is what we expected. Sun Sisters that as well. So make it 3. As attention will be paid towards the Vietnamese side, invading into the center of the circle.
Sun Sisters has a single player now getting caught out a little bit, trying to make their way over into cover. Liquid in position to find a couple shots. HK9 driving by as well. HK9 managed to pull themselves back up to 685 points, and that's quite massive for them considering they were at a pretty large deficit after that second game. Rocket Armor joining in well behind at 610 as well. We have a little bit of fight. HK9 looking for an engage coming in onto Refund.
Oh, great flick of the wrist to get the kill there and secure it for his team. And first one on the board is going to be for HK9. Just great aim and individual mechanics to get it for himself.
I mean, this goes back to my point. Refund play the playstyle where they end up splitting up their members, and this costs them a lot when they have this assumption that they're going to out-firepower the opponent. They can get caught out.
You kind of expected that to happen because they just pushed in without fear, and they were going to get punished. It was just a matter of time there, and it was HK9 that saw fit to do so. Oh, Flash Wolves looking to gear up and then hit out. They have the vehicle to their name, so they could be opting to back out from here. A couple shots in though, so Flash Wolves might be a bit concerned. It is Sun Sisters on the high ground just south of them.
Picking up a couple of vehicles early on. Some of these teams are already in a very nice position in the play zone, so as it closes down, the second play zone should remain relatively bloodless, apart from a few teams who are now looking to make their way in. TSM and C9 and A, definitely teams to watch out for.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but it feels like compared to Game 2, all the teams now moving in much earlier than they did previously.
I think it's I definitely think that's the case, and I think there's a large part of that because the play zone is so much larger this time around. Teams generally want to go and find a space where they pick out. I mean, of course, the space, the play zone itself doesn't change in size, but the amount of land terrain that is available is very much different this time around.
They want to get the vector of control early, maybe get some high ground established, a fortified defense area.
Exactly, and because you can kind of assume where the play zone is going to end up closing in on, you just need to hedge your bets onto this space and hope that it keeps closing in on your area. And even if it doesn't, a lot of the other teams will get wiped out before you do, before you're forced to make a move. So going in earlier definitely helps out a little bit. So the teams that are now moving in have to look for prime real estate, but it's going to be quite difficult.
The shots are pretty decent. They're connecting quite a bit, but the return damage coming in as well. HK9 now ducking and reloading. Good amount of meds to his name. Bandaging up and popping a drink.
Yeah, drops the energy drink. That removes boost away from HK9, so I'm a little bit dubious about the amount of resources that they've managed to pick up. Considering how deep they are into enemy lines, there's not going to be much time to continue farming off of this point, so they need a couple of kills to stock up in meds. Otherwise, they're going to see themselves in a battle of attrition.
The 3 Western teams with a delayed push in, C9, TSM, as well as FaZe, only now entering the safe zone. C9 Korea as well on the backs of that. So 4 teams making a delayed entry in. How's that going to affect the play? What do you think, Brandon? How's this going to change?
I think this means that they need to come in with a more creative path of entry. So I'm always bringing this term wide rotation. They want to be able to move in from a space where other people are not. And that's going to be critical for these teams that they try and push forward. But here we are. Battle of the Bridge, GDE pushing forward, but Rocket are holding down this position.
That's a great hold as well, but it's only a single member. They set up this crossfire on both sides of the road if they see them pushing in.
No, it's definitely more than a single member. Rocket now looking for a couple of shots on, but it's very difficult to get the control off. FaZe over on the other side as well, now looking to try and hold off of that single player, but Rocket
having the pick of the litter now. Rocket choosing who they want. Are they going to get FaZe or GDE? Turn their attention towards FaZe, but instead not going to find anything there. GDE now in cover inside this compound. Safe zone closing down on this, and FaZe barely making it in time.
Maxi being the bait for FaZe, trying to scout out the opponents. You can see how, this is what I was talking about. They move in from an angle where the enemies are not at. So we first send a single member to draw attention away, figure out where the shots are coming from. The rest of FaZe can then move in a position where they are not going to run themselves in risk. But here we go, play zone closing in, the second one coming out. And this is what I was talking about. Teams that move in early on find good prime real estate in the second play zone. They don't have to move, and now it's on teams like FaZe who have to try and push in. There is an empty space over by Manchu. They could look to push in from that angle, but it's a lot more difficult. So they have to try and... I'm looking forward to see what they're trying to adapt with.
So Rocket here looking to push in on the boat across the ocean. This is something you're very critical about, but as long as they go in wide, right, they know where they can the entry angle from. It shouldn't be too much of an issue.
We have HK9 getting shot up. Looks like HQ find a knockdown. It's a trade by HQ, LGD, and HK9 in a standoff.
Yeah, but at the end of that, it is HQ that loses single member. LGD getting the kill credit for that. GDE now fighting Rocket. Rocket was on the board, remember, so GDE gonna get a couple of shots in here. Losing a single member, the second one might fall after that. Meanwhile, HK9 still fighting this one out. It will be C9 Korea to finish off the second member for Rocket Armor.
Can I call it? Rocket Armor moving over by boat, end up getting caught out. I've been calling it the entire time. Here we have HK9 pushing forward, gets the kill onto HQ.
It's a fight in the cabin house at HQ as well as HK9 looking to break this out to combat. Two teams going at each other, using the cover pretty well actually. TPP strategy being used extremely well. Meanwhile, C9 fighting with Liquid across the map.
Mixnall now looking to come in with the flank. They have multiple members, so they could just drop onto SR, but they're not coordinating this very well.
They really need the pincer to double peek across and make sure he can't really exit here. A grenade across is not going to catch him just yet. There you go, the play coming in now. One in the house, one across the side. You need to isolate SR.
It's difficult to make a siege onto the other side off virtue of the HQ Milk.
While all that is
now
happening,
holding on the position.
Sun Sisters find Semti and Liquid lose another member. My goodness.
Difficult position. So being a little bit indecisive right now is costing him a little bit more time, and Milk has a decent shot onto a few of these players.
Oh, they find him and then he gets tagged up, but he's only down to half. Not really getting knocked down. Asalmon pushing up aggressively, getting him knocked down and looking for the execution. He's hiding behind the Jeep, and that's providing a lot of cover, but eventually will fall to Sing. So HQ not enough firepower to dissuade the push coming in from HK9.
Milk a little bit ways away, not able to give the support needed to his team, and SR getting caught out. Now we're watching some of these other teams come in. C9NA, while all that was happening, find themselves a good position up by Prison, and you can see it's C9NA and Liquid who are holding on to this spot.
Yeah, tell a lie, only one member of Liquid falling, so three of them holding the eastern side of Prison and the western side of Prison on the left being held by C9NA. As you mentioned, they're looking to gatekeep Team 17 from entering. LGD now in the center of it, finding Xiaorong, and he was isolated. He was nowhere near his teammates. Silent BT, nowhere near to revive him. This is a bad place to play in if you're OMG. You should just sacrifice the single member and move on.
OMG had a good game when they showed off in the house that they managed to get lucky in. After that, we've been seeing them make critical mistakes. They've been getting knocked down by vehicles for some reason. We've been seeing situations where they end up losing players from sloppy play.
Just and definitely very questionable actions that isn't something you expect from OMG, you know, the winners of PGI.
Absolutely. So now watching them end up making a few of these mistakes, critical mistakes. In fact, there we go, knockdown on Silent BT. That's just not good for the team.
Single tap from the mini of Sin 8 is gonna look to finish off OMG. A couple more seconds. No one really around to res the squad of OMG, so Silent BT getting knocked down, and that's Xiaorong as well. It's FaZe actually that steals the kill away from LGD.
But now FaZe caught in between LGD as well as Arrow Wolf. Now need to make their way in. Should still be fine. They have the vehicular power to try and push forward. Flash Wolves, a team that has traditionally been delayed on their entry. Now looking to make their way in with the Dacia. They split up, sending two players in front, one player at the very front, two players in the middle of the pack, and having a last player at the back. This is a nice adaptation to the strategy that we've seen them employing so far. But it is a little bit hazardous as they end up having to try and playing things a little bit slower.
Eventually, though, they will make it to their intended destination, Grandin, so
yeah,
pays off.
It still works, but they have to play a little bit more carefully. But it still is a good strategy overall coming in. Much better than the one that they had employed the last time around. So now we are switching our view onto FaZe, who have this low down position onto C9KR.
Hexetti playing behind the rock, using it for cover. A couple of grenades being popped here by C9KR, as you mentioned. Eureka falling very low, needs to heal up, bandage on himself.
Yeah, but only bandages available for himself, cannot heal up quickly enough. So Eureka in a difficult position. FaZe, if they look to move in, could see themselves win out this fight.
Hexetti on top of the rock, looking to deliver death from above. He's pinned down 3 and 4 members of C9KR, whereas the rest of FaZe are looking to come in with the flank off the side. This could be a bit tricky here for C9KR.
Running out of 776 ammo. Running out of 776 ammo on the AK. Hexetti now. I'm not sure whether how much 556 he has. 762, right? 762. Yeah.
Meanwhile, solid FPS here is taking pot shots at members of Refund Gaming. None of it is really going to connect or deal any meaningful damage, so solid FPS here is just trying to be a nuisance. Will not review his position all too much. Meanwhile, Fast FaZe is going to get the nade onto C9 Korea.
Yeah, I still want to go back to the fight coming in from FaZe. So Hexetti is running out of 762, now has to switch over to 556 ammo pretty soon with his M4. I'm looking forward to see how they play this out, because it looks like C9KR don't have as much loot as they want. The mental resources that they have are limited, and Rocket.
Exactly, Rocket is on the high ground, just looking to pick up the remainder of the kills here. You can just see the shots coming in from J. Edward.
They have a good flank.
They have a good flank. They could look to disrupt this fight here for FaZe as well as C9KR.
But lacking a little bit in might be range here. The Inception gets taken down first. Mexi gets the kill, confirmation as well.
FaZe now with the man advantage could be looking to push up and go on the offensive, but being held down is C9.
It's a big change in playstyle from FaZe Clan. They're going a lot more aggressive this time around. It looks like they understand that they need to catch back up in the points if they want to be able to win this.
Oh, Fast FaZe with the flank, but the smoke is going to disrupt any chance of getting a kill. Eventually is going to connect onto Catch and to push up aggressively from Hexetti.
Eureka running out of meds.
The wall of smoke is obstructing the vision of FaZe, so they can't really get in just yet. Sees the smoke dissipating and will get the execution on a Catch. Now Hexetti pushing up aggressively with the AK. Only 18 bullets left. He has to make this work for him. He eventually finds a whiz. Fast FaZe is going to get that with the mini.
Eureka, last player left. He cannot afford to run away. He's just going to end up getting caught out if he does. Especially with Rocket on the back front, on the back line.
18 bullets left. Hexetti looking to push up. A grenade across might, or excuse me, rather a flashbang across might be enough for him to back off. But no, it's going to be Gemty that gets it. C9, first team to be eliminated in this third map.
C9KR, the sister team to the previous round winners. Gonna get knocked out pretty early. Now Liquid looking to move in. The playing zone shifts a little bit more towards the left. Liquid with a very fast rotation off of this.
Yeah. OMG in the center of this ravine is bad position for Xiaohai because Liquid can turn the corner around with C9, as you mentioned.
HK9 trying to push forward in TSM on the flank as well. Flash will surprisingly continue to maintain an interesting and nice, smart rotation, pushing forward, but they end up having to deal with multiple angles coming in. 17 over from the side. They managed to get a kill. So trading back for their teammate. And now just a response coming in as Flash Wolves get the trade knocked down onto Wen.
But Flash Wolves have already lost a single member, whereas 17 is just 2 knockdowns. I tell a lie, another knockdown now. And a kill after that, so it's going to be a 1-for-1 trade between Flash Wolves and Team 17 from China.
C9NE actually joining into the fight as well. No Talk takes a couple of shots from a Kong, but not able to get any damage off just yet.
They're using the vision of this ridge line so well, just kiting in and out. Meanwhile, it's going to be Moody that gets the kill onto 17. So like you mentioned, C9NA joining in and crashing the party between Flash Wolves and 17. We are driving away. Oh, the barrel roll. This is not good for Refund. They're taking a lot of damage. Moody is just throwing bullets at them. He gets the double. DJ Chip and Mixie falling here. A driving accident gone wrong. Moody making it happen for C9NA.
Why do I feel like Pino is always the last guy standing on Refund?
Someone revoke his license. Come on. The That shouldn't have happened.
That is the online cost credits. You know, you pay like $1 billion and then like here's your, they send you like a license and it's like the family restaurant. You have like those like paper sheets and they send it over to you. It's like you draw it, color it with crayon, like draw in your face there too. It's like license for this person here. And now Break getting taken down by GDE, who are in an interesting position over from the side. The rest of TSM looking to try and make their way over. They rotated in from the east and pushing in from the south here.
Well, C9 getting popped from the back by Sun Sisters. TSM Brick eventually gets finished off. Meanwhile, FaZe coming in for the assistance. Getting a knockdown to solid FPS and the kill as well. First FaZe getting the kill credit. Now FaZe is popping off here this game. They went in onto C9 Korea. Now they're going in onto TSM as well.
C9NA still have a decent chance of pulling back against Sun Sisters, who are looking for this aggressive push forward. Crazy Sam gets healed up. We're looking at a collapse from two of these teams. Sun Sisters, a team who has not had that much of a showing so far, going up against one of the strongest team in terms of the standings right now. Well, didn't try and play upset. They could set C9 far enough behind, and someone they see me come back. But oh my goodness, the double grenade!
Catches two members out from Sun Sisters, and C9NA looking to go on the offensive here. They're pushing down onto the hill a bit more. We'll see members of Sun Sisters are gone, and another knockdown here, another grenade.
What about that Vector? Spray in your face, and there we go. Sun Sisters get wiped out.
2 grenades and a couple of bullets is all it takes, Grandin, and that's the Japanese team. Second on the fall in this tournament, rather in this game 3.
Continuing to show why they haven't been able to establish a showing for themselves in these games. He gets knocked out. Sun Sisters in a difficult position over on the side. FaZe gets a nice flank on the GDE.
They're still getting pincered inside. I don't know if FaZe want to opt to push in or just play the outside perimeter and deny exit.
Where is TSM at this point? They've moved over, so moving over from the east, they try and push to the southwest. And you talk about rotations, that's not a rotation that you want to take. They end up getting caught out by GDE down to the last player. They are luckily still not executed just yet, so Rory could still hold on to their hopes. But FaZe now trying to push in. They're going to ignore GDE as they move in. Milk over in the backline as well, but here we go. Airwolf gets a couple shots off onto FaZe.
Yeah, Airwolf on the high ground. They will spot FaZe pushing in, but they've split up into 2 groups. It's Maxi on the right with the flank and the main unit moving in through the center. Eventually, LGD, however, will be driving into Airwolf, and this could be what FaZe exactly wants. Running in right here. Airwolf getting denied by LGD.
Grenade coming in, looking for damage onto NC Slasher or Device, but aren't able to find an execute just yet, and pushing forward. DCR now, loses a lot of health there, has to try and find a heal first.
They get onto the bottom floor of this, and this is a weird scenario because on the higher ground, it's Airwolf, and they don't want to jump down. They don't want to get onto the same floor because they're going to get picked off.
Wait, this is hilarious. Pino and Selhai are both stuck inside prison by themselves right there. I think he just killed Pino.
Yeah.
So
that's Refund in.
That is a very sad situation. Now Rocket firing shots as GDE chases after TSM. Rory, the last player standing on his side. As now we jump back over to the standoff. LGD trying to siege up onto Nemo. They get the cut over on the side though. Fuzzface actually ends up being taken down, and TSM eliminated from the competition.
Yeah, Rocket Armor as well, just doing a lot of work here. They get a single member of TSM as well as GDE, so that's 1 apiece for Rocket. James, however, doing some work here on HK9 as well. Rocket finding another member of GDE, so that's 3 kills in a span of a couple of seconds here for Rocket Armor, the Korean team.
This round is absolutely critical for HK9. They just managed to pull themselves a little bit further up the rankings, and if they lose this placing so far
early
in,
but Liquid looking to disrupt their hopes here as they get 2 members of HK9 down.
There we go. Just after being able to pull up their rankings off the second round, they get eliminated 11th place coming into the third. They are going to drop right back down, and this is going to be so difficult. There's a huge deficit they have to work around.
You can see LGD now, because they know that Airwolf is on the second floor, they can't necessarily push out into open field because they know they're going to get shot down. So what the call is now is that the remaining members of LGD will come down to provide cover fire, while DCR as well as TJW might opt to back off.
LGD have to play things very carefully. Not only are the remaining members of Airwolf watching down this position, FaZe is also in position to take down LGD on the outside. So we take a look at the care package nearby. Liquid, they might be the ones to try and pick this up. A 17 in position. They might be looking to go in for the bunker, try and get the catch onto Liquid. Nice catch from Ibiza as they find the first knockdown. Pushing forward now, looking to pick up the care package.
Has to be careful because 17 is just behind. EB popping the grenade, might be looking to disrupt this. James, however, falling to Flash Wolves here.
Akong actually already got taken down. So they have this good space for themselves. They should be able to pick up this care package and just leave.
GDE getting a kill onto Rocket Armor. EB finishing off Akong with the grenade, fragging him out now. Looking to get into cover and find some space for himself. Meanwhile, they push uphill and Airwolf will find LGD all on the ground now.
What an insane turnaround!
Multiple members of LGD getting fragged out in the second story of this building. It's going to be Airwolf. No! Sin 8 coming in with the rescue, trying to turn this around, but eventually LGD will lose multiple members and so will Airwolf.
He didn't see LGD walking in through the door, goes in for the execute kills and ends up getting caught out. Oh my goodness! He has to be kicking himself off of that.
Sin8 eventually will be the last man standing for LGD and they will finish off Airwolf here, I believe.
With Xiaohai is still alive, he's left prison and is now pushing
making
forward.
the run. This is prison break here for Xiaohai. He's moving over to Liquid, but he might find himself in a spot of bother as Hexeti and company are turning around. There you go, Liquid will finish him off.
Yeah, it's just a choice at that point. Do you want FaZe to kill you or Liquid to kill you?
Honestly, at this point, you give the kill over to FaZe because they're low in rankings. Meanwhile, Airwolf, RDK, Teleli, still one member alive, looking for Maxi here. Grenade might be able to do it just under his feet. Will pop him with this frag.
I think it's a smoke. I think his teammates using the smoke to try and get the res off. But Jemty gets the knockdown onto RDK. Now Airwolf have to look for the res if they want to keep their teammates alive.
A lot of utility being used here, as you mentioned. So a bit of oversight on my part. Not a grenade out. Meanwhile, Airwolf looking to play along the edge of the smoke. They want to see FaZe push up and get the kills. They need the immediate frags to make this an equal fight because RDK is already on the ground crawling away.
Hexeti now looking to get the heal onto Maxi to get the flank over from the side. Oh my goodness, a great spray down.
Not what you wanted, and Jemty just with the great mechanics spraying him down, getting two members of Airwolf and finishing off the Indonesian squad.
Flash Wolves, a team that I was critical of moving into this game. The strategy they employed in the second round was not something that I enjoyed, but this time around, playing things much safer, find themselves in a pocket corner on the map.
Jemty now getting a member of LGD. The big three teams still up and running here. Team FaZe, Team Liquid, as well as C9 and A. EB now taking a lot of fire from the high ground. It's FuzzFace, I think, that's chipping shots at him. He needs to get into cover. He's down to the ground and healing up, but eventually LGD will be finished off by FaZe.
Yeah, but LGD still has one last member. FaZe looking for blood. They can taste just the last player on LGD. King's trying to keep himself alive.
Sneaky position underground here by 17. The problem is if the safe zone isn't around that bunker, he's going to have to run out and be forced to relocate himself. At that point, it's very tricky. You're not going to be able to get in. But for now, it's going to do.
They managed to wipe out LGD, C9 and A in a position where they just need to move in a little bit more. Liquid in a nice spot so far. They're getting shots onto FaZe.
FaZe getting multiple kills, in fact, this game. So they get a finishing kill onto LGD, and that's going to remove them from the tournament, or rather this game at least. Liquid with three members still in the center of it, sandwiched between C9 as well as FaZe.
Once again, down to the same teams we expected to see. It's Liquid, it's FaZe, and it's C9 and A.
Yeah, C9 and A first to strike, getting the knockdown to Jemty. Can they get anything more is the question, because FaZe are on the attack. Seti proning down now, blowing up the car to cause a bit of a distraction, at least buy some cover for himself.
Yeah, just builds a big metal shield to try and work off of that. Flash Wolves continue to try and play as if they don't exist. Just look at him crawling away. Slowly but surely making their way, inching forward into the next safe play zone.
The Flash Wolves want the top three to go at each other and then swoop in to pick up first place because they aren't in a position to fight. They only have two members and the firepower isn't that great as well.
It's difficult now. FaZe trying to make their way forward, looking at C9 on their right and Liquid on their left. But they have to push into the play zone. And they're using the smokes to their advantage.
The issue with 17 now, like I said, safe zone doesn't land on him, means he has to push out of the bunker and he's alone. So that is a bad position for him. Meanwhile, Moody on the ground crawling forward.
Just holding on his position. He's waiting for the rest of his team to move in alongside him. No Talk actually gets knocked out on the outside of the play zone, so the crawl strategy a little bit too slow.
Oh! Dying over there. FaZe, or rather Flash was falling to the environmental damage, and it's going to be James with the grenade onto first FaZe. Starting to shape up to become a bit of a precarious situation, Grandin, because Flash Wolves have lost two members to the environmental damage.
Just run, man. Just run. What's the worst that could happen? I guess they really don't want to give 15 kill points to anybody else.
Probably a wise idea to deny those kill points, and Liquid now finding a fight with FaZe. Jeems now getting knocked down in return, and it's going to be C9 that gets him down, but FuzzFaze will fall, and Liquid and FaZe rather getting dropped all across. Biza will walk over and see 17, and it's going to be the 10 members left on this map. C9 in the best spot possible this game, looking to finish first in the second or the third game of today.
Wait, GDE is still in the game. Crawling on the outside of this plane, and he's still alive.
He's barely inside this.
He's barely still here. He has the same number of players as Liquid does at this point. Both sides looking for this plane. FaZe still with 2, it looks like.
C9 is probably still poised to finish first, considering the manpower that they have. FaZe is just hiding behind his vehicle, hoping that the safe zone falls in their favor. No team is really intent on making a move just yet.
I don't know if you could call it play zone falls in their favor.
It's so small at this point, right? It's
yeah, I mean, our C9 is already in it. Like, unless the play zone literally moves, I don't think there's a fall into their favor scenario here.
Yeah, you're right.
Now GDE try and crawl in slowly, try and use some of the other teams as bait. And hold on, 10 seconds, 7 seconds now left. This final moments, Mexi losing his helmet. The entirety of the map basically all blue at this point.
FaZe have to make their way back into the safe zone, like you mentioned, not in their favor whatsoever. Have to journey back in with a wide sweep, and Hixetti standing up, trying to get some shots onto Nerf. Will chip him down to a quarter health, but with the blue on his back, he has to make his final stand here. He's pushing in, trying to use the cover of the trees, but eventually will get tagged up. Maxi now also being focused down. It could be FaZe showing their face too early and then getting taken out. GDE is still back in this game, so they're gonna lose a single member. No, Biza will fall first, and now FaZe will drop, and GDE somehow still in this game. It's gonna be C9 versus GDE. As GDE a second, I believe.
GDE playing upset, coming in, still holding on, but still C9 NA coming in with the win.
Second first place finish. For today, in this third game, and C9 actually coming out huge this tournament, overwhelming my expectations.
It's an incredibly massive performance from C9 NA, a team that we weren't as hyped about to see. We knew that there were some changes that they had planned out, and some things that we were kind of expecting from the North American team. But it wasn't at the level that we are expecting to see today. They've managed to upset teams like Liquid, teams like FaZe, and put themselves in an incredible position. If the second game was a game of chance, this third game has been one where Cloud9 has a methodical approach to entering the play zone, setting up a position that's strong for them, and then continuing to snowball off that.
Now I believe, and I'm not particularly sure about this, but I think Liquid either finished second or third there, or third or fourth there, because GDE was second, right? So
yeah, I think FaZe was third, and then Liquid was fourth.
Okay, so with that, you know, Liquid, the closest competitor, falls behind just a bit, and FaZe are catching up as well. So top 3 is getting a bit spicy here, Brandon.
Yeah, so we are waiting to and expecting round number 4 to come in. That will be our last round of the day before we move into tomorrow's games, which will be in the first-person perspective. And we'll have one map on Miramar coming in. So I'm thinking right now, Cloud9 are looking to be in an incredibly dominant position, point-wise. And they are going to set themselves up. They can do whatever they want the last game, and they can still come out ahead.
Yeah, that's the... I mean, to put it that way is a bit of a stretch, but I get where you're coming from, you know. They have enough breathing room to get away with small mistakes, right? It's
True.
Not like they can't literally do whatever they want, right? Yeah, you know?
Yeah, to that extent, but, you know, at this point, it's like, it's still a little bit early because they still have tomorrow to work with, but if we actually do see a hot drop coming in, that might actually be an upset against C9. But for the most part, they have been playing a very solid mid to late game.
Yeah, I agree. The rotations into the late game as well, just sticking as a unit, and the firepower has been really strong.
True.
Winning these fights and making the smart decisions. Whoever shot calling on C9 now is really earning his money's worth. And remember, let's not discount the fact that the prize pool is pretty big. It's, if I remember correctly, it's 150 or 250?
I think it's 150.
150 US.
That's why I remember it as too.
150,000 US dollars, right? I mean, that's the pretty large prize pool that we have here.
So we're looking forward to see how these teams work for that prize. But you gotta work for that money.
Yeah.
Worth your salt. And if we know anything about professional players, they are a lot of salt.
Oh boy.
But With that being said, we have come to the end of the third game. We've watched a very exciting set of games so far. Yeah. A bunch of teams that have come in with different strategies and different ideas in how they want to go about playing the game. So far, it's worked well for some teams and not so well for some other teams.
Right.
And we've seen some pretty close moments, moments like Sunsister getting to collapse onto, I believe, onto Liquid, and almost managed to get the kills onto them, but it's getting wiped out in the end. So we'll look to see if there's any more upsets coming in, guys, when we go into break for game number 4. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. Oh, it's a minute. So it's like moving into break.
I love it when they do that because for the viewers unaware, we are using the clean feed from the Cantonese stream, so
yeah,
it's pretty much just us over dubbing over with our cast. So timing's a bit off, but eventually we'll nail it. We'll nail it.
Yeah, you can even get like the Cantonese cast on the mics as a bonus.
Yeah, I think that is the cue for the stream's break now.
經我超級管家一番努力，各路英雄終於由一味嘥電變到識得慳電，咁就輪到我叉電啦。
管家，屋企有冇慳多咗電？
有冇自潮嘅慳電產品推介啫？
好 easy 啫，有中電咁多元化嘅服務 ，check 住屋企用電，揀節能電器，無論想點喺邊度都搞掂。中電智慧你，綠色生活更便利。
手機咁快冇電嘅？
搞啱個 mon 慳到電咯。喂，醫生？
Hong Kong's famous skyscrapers with wall-to-wall creativity, from street art and furniture design to creativity as diverse as Hong Kong itself, from fashion innovation to gaming animation, and art in all its many different forms. These and so much more make up the rich cosmopolitan creative hub that is our